A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 206th episode of the Together for Education webinars brought to you by Notebook. As we completed our 200th episode with enormous love and support from you all, we took some pause to sit, think, and prepare ourselves even better for the much-awaited season 2 of this very prestigious webinar series. It was back in 2020 when we here at Notebook decided to launch a platform for the educators to connect meaningfully on discussing problems they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning and arrive at a common solution. Little did we know that day about this platform growing magnificently big, both vertically and horizontally. We thank you all once again for supporting us and would look forward to your gracious presence in all our upcoming episodes. We have discussed extremely vibrant topics here, like digital learning, NEP and assessment, extracurricular topics like sports and theater, topics like school finance and management, and even evolved topics like mental health. Our today's topic is screen time, which has now become a real concern, surpassing its literal meaning. What exactly is screen time? How much screen time is appropriate for the kids? How do we monitor, control, and balance screen time for our little ones? Let's hear from the experts today. Our first speaker on this topic is Mr. Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as a deputy headmaster from the illustrious Doon school in Dehradun after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. Mr. Burrett served the Doon school as housemaster, head of department, dean of activities, dean of student welfare, deputy headmaster, second master, and acting headmaster with great distinction. He also carried out a visioning exercise for the Doon School in the year 2011 through an in-depth study of a number of British public schools and various schools in the US. Mr. Burrett qualified as a leadership trainer at the Wellington College in UK in the year 2000. He is also an athlete, an adventurer, and a naturalist. And we here at Notebook are truly privileged to have Mr. Burrett as our senior advisor. So, sir, thank you so much for being here today. A very, very good evening, and over to you, please. So you're not audible.
Right. Am I?
Yes, it just happened, sir. So we can't hear you.
Now go.
Yes, it is audible. It's on and off. So if you can just put it on speaker and it's okay.
You just
maybe go ahead. Yes, now it is audible.
Is it okay now? Is it okay?
Yes,
okay.
It is okay, sir.
Thank you, Gabriel. Sorry for that. Thank you so much, and a very good evening to all our guests and Achin, you, and everyone at Notebook. I was looking at a very interesting video the other day, which showed a bus of children going to the States, and suddenly the driver of the bus had a seizure, and the bus was, careening off the road, and it would have killed the kids. One child got up, and he was only about 15 years old. He got up and managed to put the brakes on, and the bus came to a grinding halt. Many children were injured, but he saved them. And his father was summoned to the school, and he thought that his son had done something wrong, and so he was being suspended. But actually, his son was being complimented and awarded because he was the only boy in the bus who was not on a cell phone, and therefore he was aware of the driver who's having a heart attack. Every other child was busy on their cell phones, which brings me to the point that research has shown that screen time is inhibiting the ability of children to read faces, to learn social skills, two very important factors in the development of empathy. And therefore, this is especially true of children who are spending considerable time learning on computers and tablets. It's important that we break up these times with physical activity when school shuts. We have screens all around us, from the classroom screens to watches, screens in cars, GPS, television in shops and airports, our computer screens, smart boards in the classes, video games, cell phones, social media, Even household apparatus, all from washing machines to ovens, it's all digitalized screens. Now, we saw what happened to children during the COVID times when they were hooked onto screens. There were low immunity, there was depression, deadpan expressions. When they came back to school, they couldn't communicate. They didn't read faces, as I said earlier. This can happen outside COVID when people are onto screens. When I interview children for the Doon school, I often ask them what their hobbies were. And I was aghast to know that so many of them had video games as the only hobby. They came back from school and they got stuck with their video games or watching television. And they didn't ever think that sweating it out on a game or excelling in a skill or making friends and engaging with people was important. Now, while the average time spent on screens is about 7 to 10 hours, nearly half of all the children under 8 have their own tablet device and spend an average of about 2.25 hours a day on digital screens. Now, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends this: no screen time for children under 2, 1 hour per day for children between 2 and 12, and 2 hours per day for teens and adults. Now, where are we anywhere near these figures? I think limiting screen time also helps parents keep a closer eye on what their children are experiencing and on social media and internet. While most research is needed to fully understand the effects of screen time and what effect it has on children, parents are also to blame. And screen time affects parents as much as it affects children. Too much screen time puts everybody at risk of obesity. It is linked with sleep disturbances and other relationship problems. For children, especially teens, there are studies concerning the negative aspect of screen time and its relationship to anxiety, depression, and attention span. Let's look at brain development. Data indicates that children who spend more than 2 hours a day on their screens scored lower in language and thinking skills. And some children with more than 7 hours a day of screen time experience thinking of the brain's cortex, the area of the brain related to critical thinking and reasoning. They had a thinning of the brain cortex, sorry. Screen should inhibit certain aspects of a child's development by narrowing their focus of interest and limiting their other means of exploration and learning, such as playing with toys to foster imagination and creativity, exploring the outdoors, and playing with other children to develop appropriate skills. We've all heard about the Finnish experiments of making children run around the forests and learning their geography and nature study out there. Often children being pushed on a stroller in a pram or eating meals with their cell phones in their hand, with their parents' cell phones with their hands, and not paying attention to what's happening around them. The world outside is all dead. Studies have shown that children under 2 learn less from a video than when learning from another person. And it appears that although children will watch the TV screen by 6 months, understanding the content does not occur till after the age of 2. It is not that they won't be captivated by what's on the screen, but they're not learning from it. Language development expands rapidly between 1.5 to 3 years of age. And children learn language best when engaged with interacting adults who are talking and playing with them. There's also some evidence that children who watch a lot of television during their early elementary school years perform less well on reading tests, and they're not attentive enough. Research also shows that dialogue with children is extremely important for language development and social interaction. It's that back and forth, stimulus and response, facial expressions, is the dialogue of life with their parents. That is very important. Learning to listen for the gaps, coming in when the parents stop talking. This improves language and communication. Take sleep, for example. This circadian rhythm, which is linked with melatonin, it shuts down. It's everything is inhibited by the blue screen. And one's body clock is disrupted. All sorts of health problems emerge. Cortisol level goes up, stress levels go up. All sorts of other unhealthy hormonal imbalances, brain inflammation, high arousal, all because of lack of sleep. And I've seen children, even after their parents have gone to sleep, are still with their devices. It's also very addictive. Mobile phones, they draw you in. It's easy to waste time just surfing the internet. It gives this false dopamine fix. These devices are so portable and ubiquitous that we cannot manage them. A television screen at least is fixed. You can watch a television screen with your parents, enjoy a movie. But these other handheld devices can be taken to any part of the room, taken on walks. We should be careful of relying on using screens to distract children from other problems, rather than have them figure it out or teach them to resolve it themselves. Using a favorite song to distract a young child who has just fallen and scraped his knee might be okay. But having the parent comfort and cuddle the child, is best. Now, some screens are better than others. As I said, TV can be controlled. TV is in one place, it's better. YouTube is not very good for children. If left to their own devices, children are very good at finding their favorite videos that link to other videos and can lead to hours of endless watching clips, largely unregulated in nature. And these sites, they allow children to watch almost anything. At best, there is very little educational value, and the worst, it can lead to violence because of the inappropriate content. I want to quickly go through some steps that parents and teachers can use to combat this. One is to be accountable and realistic. Children will watch screens. What we need to do is limit the time. Choose media wisely. It's good to learn from screens, but what type of screens? Bedtime should be very, very firmly adhered to. Try and watch what the children are watching. Try to be engaged with them. We should also limit our own screen time. And of course, lastly, to emphasize healthy eating, nutrition, and exercise. With that, Gagori, I'm sorry for that early hitch. I hand this over to you. Thank you very much. Looking forward to listening to the views of the expert panel. Anaj.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those wonderful deliberations, sir. The incident which you cited at the beginning was really, really insightful. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker on this topic is Mr. Achin Bhattacharyya, CEO and founder at Doon. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Doon. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. Achin is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland, and a member of CIMA UK. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award, an avid reader and a passionate traveler. Achin has keen interest in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He's a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and contributes to their articles regularly. He is also on board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies as well. Achin, a very good evening, and over to you, please.
Good evening, everyone. Gaguri, am I audible?
Absolutely.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session. Screens have become less like devices and more like implants. And why do we say that? There are people who sleep with their smartphones beneath their pillows. Is it out of mere convenience? Or is it fear of missing out on something? And I'm talking about adults, developing children. Missing out maybe on an important call, message, some development, some work update. There are others who spend the night holding their phones as if they're holding onto a lifeboat in the middle of Pacific. Now, one of the premises of screen time is that screens should not be seen as discrete objects. Things that in the past sat in the corner of a room or a desk, like as Burrett mentioned, something like a TV set or a record player can now be accessed so easily Like everything, be it work, be it leisure, everything comes in the form of your phone or at times an iPad, small, portable. So, of course, the perception is that life without it is unimaginable. However, at times, data that we see in research is quite shocking. Recently, during the pandemic, screen time increased most among primary school children. And as per research, this is not the screen time that was used for online classes. Apart from that, by an extra hour and 20 minutes a day on average. And this research was done based on data from 89 countries. So almost 1 hour 20 minutes per day on average. And we are talking of primary school children. The sharp rise in screen time was also associated, or there was a correlation with things like poorer diet, poor eye health, of course, mental health suffered, anxiety, behavioral problems, aggression, irritability, and temper tantrums. And biggest increase was amongst children between the age group of 6 to 10. But of course, there was significant increase among everyone, including adults, and that's quite natural with everyone at home. Researchers found that overall more time was spent looking at screens, and negative effects, even among adults, things like effects on diet, sleep, mental health, eye health. And of course, one thing that has again and again come, and the pandemic has only reinforced the belief that what is most important is to lead a non-sedentary life. There has to be activities on the ground, which can actually mitigate this risk of increased screen time. Time to go out and play. And when I say play, not only sitting on the couch and playing video games, but actually go to the field and play an outdoor sport. Interact with friends face to face and not only on social media. Research further identified links between more screen time and negative outcomes. And it can go on and on. Increased fatigue, weight gain, etc. Even if we leave the pandemic for once, if we leave it aside, as of course, as a one-off incident, the general trend, and today if we look at it and look at the impact of screen time, effect of screen time on various age groups. For instance, if we come to babies, toddlers, and as I rightly mentioned, that many parents use screen to keep young children entertained, distracted, considering the fact that they have conflicting priorities, so much to do at home, at work. And there's no doubt that actually screens captivate the children's attention in a way almost nothing else does, allowing parents little time for themselves. But what is the impact of screens on young brains, and how much screen time should they be exposed to? Brain scientists who study the impact of screens on baby brains, this is an evolving subject. They don't have the answers to all questions yet. But what they do certainly know is it will help if parents understand how critical it is to provide off-screen experiences so that a child actually learns, improves their social and cognitive skills, and be more healthier and happier in the process. It's also proved scientifically that babies learn the most from human interaction. I was reading a report by Patricia Kull, one of the world's leading brain scientists, and she did an experiment with more than 4,000 babies every year. Little babies under a year old, according to her, do not learn from a machine, in spite of the fact that however much you try to distract them. There's great learning from a human being and zero learning from machine if we talk of toddlers. Perhaps that is why World Health Organization recommends no screen time for babies under 2, and not more than 1 hour screen time a day for those between the ages of 2 to 4. The other aspect is that there's no doubt that screens hijack attention spans. But we all know that for children to be successful eventually, they need to learn how to concentrate and focus without getting distracted, especially in today's world with so much coming in the way. That ability starts to develop during the earliest years, when their brains are more sensitive to the environment around them. Now, for a brain to develop and grow, it needs essential stimuli from the outside world. More importantly, they need time to process those stimuli. For example, while reading storybooks, children get time to process words, images, and that, however, if they're looking at screen continuously, constant absorption of on-screen images and messages at times affect their attention span and focus, especially if the content is very distracting. Open source content, children left on their own, can of course be dangerous. The other aspect is that at times screens curtails the ability of children to control their impulse. Now, it teaches them what is very important is that it's very important to teach children how to cope with frustration and control their impulse. If young children are constantly being stimulated by screens, they're looking at something very exciting, because naturally, if you look at content at times, especially unregulated content, it needs to be exciting in order to capture the imagination. But in the process, children forget how to rely on themselves or others to be engaged. They forget that they can even be happy with simple joys in life without looking at something which is very aggressive, very exciting. So this might lead to frustration, and of course, it hinders imagination and motivation. It hinders creativity. I think the worst problem. The other aspect is reducing empathy. Research has shown that screen time inhibits young children's ability to read faces and learn social skills. Like, two key factors needed to develop empathy. Face-to-face interactions are the only way young children learn to understand non-verbal cues and interpret them. Very important. Even today in any communication, they say that more than 70% communication is non-verbal. So according to a Harvard neuroscientist, Charles Nielsen, who studied the impact of neglect on children's brain, and he said that until babies develop language, all communication is non-verbal. So they depend heavily on looking at a face and deriving meaning from that face. So babies, they do try to understand, is this person happy with me or is he upset with me? That two-way interaction between children and an adult caregiver is critically important for brain development. Now, exposure to screens in order to distract a baby at times reduces his or her ability to read human emotion, which is so important, and control their frustration. It also detracts from activities that help boost brain power, like, for example, play, interacting with other children, etc. Now, when we discuss this topic, I think to be fair and to ensure that we have a 360-degree view, how do we look at screen time from the perspective of digital education? The way I look at it, that in today's world, we cannot deny the fact that, and it has always been the case, that although schools and teachers have a huge role in bringing up a child, which can never be replaced by anyone, digital education has come in as a big way, as an aid to teaching children online content. And not only for children, but even for adults who are continuously trying to upgrade their skills. What is really important is that digital education also should not be open source content, especially for children. Merely sitting in the internet and watching unregulated content, it can be very dangerous. It might not be age appropriate. So it's really important to ensure that they consume content from a responsible platform where content has been properly reviewed, and also where the basic DNA of the content is age appropriate. Content which is soothing, which teaches children through storytelling without distracting them with too much of animation. So I think the fact that we all agree that schooling is indispensable for overall development of a child. It prepares him for civil society in future, where he or she learns to care, to share, something which is even more rare in today's nuclear family structure. School is the only place where a child actually learns these things. Otherwise, in a nuclear family, very often a child starts imagining himself or herself as the center of universe, which can be very dangerous. However, quality digital education, when properly implemented, can be a great value-adding tool in the hands of teachers and students. So what is important is that anyways, we cannot completely do away with screens. It's a reality. Can we actually utilize this screen time for their education? Can we ensure that we teach them something which is engaging yet enriching, which does good to them? However, I think what is most important is the way I look at it, that learning by and large is an immersive lifelong journey. And the most important thing on which learning depends is curiosity. So the objective of any educator, either in a classroom setting or on screen, is to ignite curiosity and passion for excellence. And I think that remains same. At the end of the day, any digital platform is nothing but a bridge between a passionate educator and children who will be greatly benefited by his or her knowledge. So I think these are a few things that I wanted to share. I find this topic very interesting and very exciting. We have a great panel here today, and I look forward to hear from them, their views on this interesting topic. Over to you, Gauri.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Achin, for those wonderful, wonderful deliberations. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss this topic, we do have a wonderful panel lined up for you today. But before we start with the panel discussion, a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech platform that creates short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. This means that every topic from every subject of the school syllabus has been converted into a series of small videos, which can be used in two different cases. One is when you as a teacher are starting out your topic in your classroom, you can play one of these videos as a method of visually introducing the topic to your students. These videos are just 6 to 10 minutes in duration and take up very little of your class time, while offering the right kind of material to students to generate curiosity and excitement. The second is when the student is studying at home months later, they have access to the same videos on their personal devices, be it a laptop or a smartphone. They can watch the videos over and over again until they get a very clear understanding of the topic that you have taught them. What I'm going to do now is play you a mashup of notebook videos so that you know what they exactly look like.
Force. We use this term very commonly in our day-to-day life. But do you know where we use it? Opening a door, riding a bicycle, and lifting a box are some things that we all do in our daily lives, and all these require a force. Let's see an example. So if a player wants to pass this ball to his teammate, he will have to kick the ball. As you can see, he has successfully moved the ball in direction of his teammate.
This is 4000 BC, that is 6000 years ago. And yes, we take a time machine for this journey. First, we land at Babylonia, the city of commerce, and we see payment of wages and expenses being made. And yes, they are using clay tablets to keep the records.
Both the kids keep playing with the globe, trying to identify the different places. They discuss about whether the people who are in the low part of the globe stand a chance to fall off. But then they think that maybe we are not on the globe, but actually inside the globe. And that is why we are not falling off.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a small part of some of our videos as you just now saw. We have today connected with over 3,500 schools and have had millions of students and teachers benefit from our videos. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, you would find all such videos at your disposal. If you watch Notebook in your school, please get in touch with our sales team at sales@notebook.school. With that, it is now time to introduce a wonderful panelists that we have with us today. We have with us today Nargis Qazi ma'am, Principal, International Delhi Public School, Andhra Pradesh. Ma'am is a B.Ed, MA in English, History, Urdu Literature and Education, B.Ed, MS and M.Phil. She has over 28 years of academic career where she has served as principal in schools like Ronnie Lands English High School and Junior College, Prabhat Kids Akola, St. Mary's School, Bhandara. Ma'am has worked as teacher trainer in CBSE affiliated schools, affiliation inspection committee member, and so on. She has attended numerous workshops, including VI International Principals Education Conference 2017, workshop attended as principal by Sahodaya Cluster Nagpur, UGC-sponsored national seminar on role of IQAC. She has also conducted multiple workshops as well. Ma'am has been conferred with many awards, including the very prestigious Bhattacharyya Education Award for Best Work in Education. Ma'am, a very good evening and welcome to the panel. We also have with us today. Good evening, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening,
We also
Aburi.
have-
You are looking gorgeous today.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Good evening, Anju ma'am, Achin sir, and Philip sir. Very good evening.
We also have with us today, ma'am, I'll just introduce Anju ma'am and we can then start the panel.
Sure.
We also have with us today Dr. Anju Mehrotra ma'am, Director, Principal, Kalka Group of Institutions, an administrator, resource person, philanthropist, and visionary. Dr. Mehrotra has been associated with academic organizations like CBSE, NCERT, SCERT, DIET, IIT, ASCDOL, and many others. Ma'am has been a member of textbook committee, writing committee for class 11 NCERT, as well as for subject political science. She has been the central nodal supervisor for the last 10 years for subjects like pol science, social science, and English. She has numerous certifications to her credit, including CBSE State Teachers Award, Dr. Kalam Memorial Ignited Mind Award, Eduvisionary Award 2021, and so on. Ma'am, a very good evening and welcome to the panel as well. It's always a pleasure to have you back. If both the panelists can kindly switch on their cameras, and I will start with Nargis Qazi ma'am first. Ma'am, I'll start with you. My question with you is, how does excessive screen time affect the kids, and when do we start restricting the screen time, and how much exactly do we restrict?
Good evening, Aburi. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, ma'am.
Okay, I will start that children learn more from what you are than what you teach, right? And screen time is really harmful for children. And nowadays, students are not only students, children, adults, all the age group people are totally addicted to screen. Whether it's a child or the mother or the grandmother or father, everybody. Being into education, we people know how much we are suffering because of this addiction of children. I'm not going far away. I will share some daily life examples with you people so that we can come to understand that how much this screen time or the gadgets are affecting children, their daily life and skills of children. If we go out, if we go to dine out in the restaurants, we see mothers are fully engaged in screens, they are engaged in their phone, and for keeping the children calm, they are giving them one phone. So be busy in your phone, watch what you want to, and mothers are busy with their chatting with their phones. This screen time is affecting children in multi-way. First of all, they are losing their patience. They're losing their patience level. They're not at all, tolerant nowadays because they are continuously swiping the screen, continuously watching some or the other thing. They're fully all the time, they're involved in screen, in their gadgets, either mobile or their tablets or their laptops. So they are in a habit to swipe screen. Because of this swiping and switching from one app to another app, they are losing their temper. See, actually, parents are responsible for this addiction. We don't say, many of the parents are coming to us and they're complaining, my child is not listening to me, he's addicted to mobile phone. Who is giving mobile phone to child? Who is giving laptop at home to children? They're telling us to tell him or her something so that he will not use mobile phone. We are not at all going to your home to give your child gadget to use it. Parents are responsible because they want to work, they want to keep themselves engaged in they just want to do their work, and that's why they want child to not to disturb them, and that's why they are giving them gadgets and they are playing with them, they're watching cartoon and they're addicted to cartoon so much that they are not at all eating without watching cartoon. I'll share one example of my own niece. When I went to my in-laws, I saw she was feeding her children. And first of all, she was giving them mobile, playing cartoon on it, and then she was feeding them. I said, what is this? Why are you giving him mobile? She's saying he is not at all eating without watching cartoon. So we are responsible for that addiction to children. Because of that, they are not at all paying attention to their surrounding. They are not at all in contact with environment. They're not playing in green. Actually, when we were children and we were disturbing our parents when they were working, they were telling us to go out and play. This going out and play was involving many of the skills. First of all, we were in touch with our environment. We were going out, we were playing, we were enjoying. Our interpersonal skills were developing. Sending out means they were teaching us social skills. They wanted us to be social. We were going out, we were playing with children, we were helping the neighborhood aunts. So they were giving us some money to buy some things, means we were learning economic skill also. We were helping people. We were involved in cultural activities. Nowadays, children are so much involved in gadgets. They do not want to participate in any of the cultural activity or religious activity. They don't want to go to neighborhood with their parents or alone because they don't want to miss their screen time, their cartoon, their video games. If we ask teenagers or adults how much time they play video games, they're saying 7 hours or 10 hours. So this is not at all appropriate. Actually, this is harming not only their brain, their creative thinking, but their eyesight also. So many ways this screen time is harming children. First of all, their patient level decreases. They are not at all tolerant. Means the third thing, they are not at all adjusting with anybody. Because of this lack of patience, lack of tolerance, they do not adjust with anybody. They do not share their things with anybody. Understanding level is zero nowadays because every day we are dealing with children. So their understanding level is zero. They do not understand. They are not at all flexible. They do not adjust with people. And if we see their reading, writing skills, their vocabulary is too much limited because they are always engaged in mobile phones, in their gadgets, in their games, or watching cartoon. So they speak that only language. When my daughter, now she is a doctor, but when she was young, she was a teenager, she was watching that Doraemon, Nobita, and Shinchan. So she was speaking Shinchan language. Still, now she is a doctor. When I compliment her, she's saying, "Ab mein itna bhi kuch khas nahi." Means she has picked that line from that Shinchan. So the Shinchan was most adamant character. He was not at all obeying his mother. So all the mothers were totally harassed by Shinchan and their children became disobedient. Being a mother, if you are a mother, you may be, you might have experienced this. So they learn the language, they appreciate the language that cartoon character speaks, and they want to be same in their personal and in their own life. They want to follow the same thing which that Shinchan or Nobita, they were living in imaginary world, and they also want that some magic power must be with them so that they can also do magic and they can also do things in seconds. So vocabulary, it affects the vocabulary of the child. Then creative thinking. Child can't imagine. Child can't create ideas. Child can't think beyond those characters of cartoons or those video games. So he or she is in their own imaginary world. They want to act like those video game characters, heroes or villains, and they want to act like cartoons. Moreover, they are restricted to their zone. They are limited in the room, and they are continuously in contact with screen. So they are disconnected with the outer world, with the environment, with relatives, with people, and they become, less social. Because they do not want to go out of their zone. They don't want to miss those video games or those cartoons. Then they are less communicative. They do not want to communicate with people. When children are coming in school, we see if we want to interact with them, they want an escape. They do not want them to be disturbed by somebody. So they want to be in their own zone. They do not come out of that shell in their imaginary, out of their imaginary world. So they are less communicative. Their vocabulary is restricted. They become non-verbal. Social and interpersonal skills totally collapse because of this screen time. Moreover, they do not want to be friends with somebody. They do not want to talk to their neighbors. They are not at all helpful to others. They are not, if they are involved in their video game, if something happened, if somebody got some injury or some accident, they do not want to help because they do not want to miss out their video game or their cartoon. So they are not at all helpful. Being an educationist, being an academician, when we see all these things, we feel bad, we feel sad. And I'm really worried being an academician, what will going to happen to this future generation, because they are not at all social, they are not at all helpful to others. They do not want to get mixed with others. They are not at all they don't have that adjustment skills like we were taught by our parents. Indirectly we were learning by our parents, because as I said, children learn what you are, from what you are, and not from what you teach. So what we do, they follow. And we are not at all even realizing that they are following their parents. Parents are always on phone, and same thing they are doing, because parents don't want their children to disturb them, and that's why they have given this addiction to children. Moreover, children lost their cultural values because they are not at all learning those values. If they are not at all learning how they will going to follow those things. Moreover, one thing I am really experiencing in children after COVID, this COVID has given this addiction to children. So after COVID, I'm experiencing, and I'm really worried for this, children, they do not respect their teachers. They become too blunt. They become adamant. They're not at all obeying their teachers. This problem I'm really facing just after COVID, when physically students started coming to school. They are really disrespectful towards their teachers. They are not at all bothering when teachers are passing from them. They are not at all standing up or wishing the teachers. And moreover, they become too blunt. They are using foul language because they learned all this from this web series, because it is really common. And this is my suggestion to parents. They must be very much careful while watching things. When they watch web series or any of the content, they must be careful that whether their children are observing them, whether their children know what their parents are watching, because we are not at all aware that children are observing us. And they must do policing to their children. They should always be careful what the child is watching. You must sit with your children and see what they are watching. You must keep watching them, because they watch any of the content and they use the same language. So nowadays, one difficulty we are facing, being an academician, the children are using foul language. They are using bad words even for their teachers. This is really worrisome, and we have to be very much alert, and we have to find remedies for this. So we must restrict their screen time, not only screen time, but we must restrict the content what they are watching. So mothers must be very much careful, because one way, by providing them gadgets and by allowing them to watch whatever they want to, we are spoiling their future. We are not at all building their character. See, being a parent, we don't know. I don't know. You don't know what your children to be in future. We don't know what they will be in their future. But least we can try to make them a better version. That is the responsibility of each and every parent. So at least you try to make them a good citizen. Let him choose what he want to be, but at least you try to give the child values, right? Because if you will give values, if you will restrict what content he is watching, if you choose for him, that will help to build his character. So being an academician, being a parent, it's really my concern. Parent must be watchful towards their children, what they are watching, what they are doing, and we must try to provide the content which add values for character building. So this is my advice and suggestion to all the parents. I hope I spoke up to the mark. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much for your insightful advices. And I will move on to Dr. Anju Mehrotra, ma'am. Ma'am, a very, very good evening. Welcome back to the panel. It's always a pleasure to have you back. Ma'am, my question for you would be, when do we start restricting the screen time? How much do we balance it? How do we balance it? And what is the most important question being, what is the role schools play in this entire process?
Yeah, good evening. Namaskar, everyone. It was nice hearing everyone, relating to the topic. I believe this is something which is very much in, and we have always been talking about this now, because see, this has become actually, double-edged sword. So, I mean, we should not forget there was a time when everything came to a stop, and there was nothing happening in the world, whole world. And it was only the technology, it was only the screen that was working that really made us not just alive, but in fact, our education also did not stop. Education sector was the only one which was working at that time, thanks to our teachers, their fraternity, who took up overnight everything, with lot of adaptability, with lot of flexibility, and with their own learning methodologies. How did they come up and change the whole system from offline to online? That was the time when we took online and the screen time as something which was a blessing to us. So, and that continued not just for 1 year, for almost 2 years. And even now, at the time when, the things come to a halt, like, say any rainfall is there, or somewhere flood is there, somewhere any other kind of calamity or any other kind of problem, okay, the classes will go on online.
Online, right.
Yes. So we should not forget, this is a double-edged sword. I understand that technology has to play a role, but it all depends on us, we as educators, we as parents, how, say, judiciously and how sincerely we are using this, not just as a tool, not just as something, as a weapon or as a toy, but something which is very, very important as a medium, as a part of our methodology, which can be utilized, which can be used, to enhance our knowledge. I just differ, what my other panelists have said. I don't see that there are always, the negative side of it. How much restriction we have to put? See, you can't restrict and you can't enforce anything on anyone. Only thing is, we have to tell everyone about the pros and cons of things and make them resilient enough, make them mature enough, make them understandable enough, to decide, this is our role, what we play, to make the children, how to make their decisions in life, to prepare them. These are the life skills. Our job is to prepare them for life. So we give them all the values, we show them everything, we present ourselves as the role models. This is how it is. Now, good, bad, everything is available in this world. What do you choose? It's your choice. How do the children choose? It is their choice. But as elders, as educationists, as their leaders, it is our responsibility. How do we present the things to them? How do we put across the things so that they are able to choose the right thing at the right time, at the right place? So I'm very clear about it that, see, screen, we take it as technology. Technology is the need of the hour. There is not always, negative aspect of it. There is so much of positive aspect because every coin has got two sides. We should see the positive side of it. We learn so much through screen, right? There was a time when we had to visit the libraries, to work for hours and hours just to look and to get one small information. I remember the days when I did PhD, I had to sit for long hours, in the library just to get one information because my guide had told me, yes, by tomorrow you have to tell me this. And I used to slog around like anything, slogging and clogging just to get one small information. Now everything is there in your fist. Just a click and you get all the information. Just a click and all the researches are available. So point is, how do we put across these researches before our students? How do we, tell them that, see, you have to use this screen, you have to use this technology, right? Because point is that certain things, they have been exposed, quite early stage because of thanks to that COVID only, right? But the point arises that age appropriate content, which should be available to them. The only thing what we need to do is how much media, how much, content should be available so that they can see, and how much the screen time we should limit it. Here, my submission is that there is, as such, for the small children, I do understand as per the researches when we think on it, but the point arises as far as the senior students are concerned, for them, this technology and the screen time is very, very important, right? But the only thing is what they need to do is media balance. So we call it as we have to strike the balance, in our work, in our professional life, in our same domestic life, even at the home front, we have to see, at the workplace, we have to see, and how as elders we maintain the balance, strike a balance so that our cycle, our bicycle moves on, yes, balancing that thing. So similarly, I expect that the children must understand these are the pros, these are the cons, right? How much you have to use, how judiciously you have to use this media, and to up to what extent, so that it does not bring any kind of, say, what we have been saying throughout, that it of course, it hits on the social skills, it hits on the emotional skills, there's no doubt about it. It hits on the interpersonal skills as well. But I think this is something what is happening in the society. So you cannot escape from certain things. It is your own views, your own perception, how you keep yourself away from what is not good for you. This is again, something which is the rational would be this only. One person sees as the glass, which is half empty, or a glass which is half full. So it's your own perception, it's your own outlook. How do you look towards the things? How do you see that, Discovery Channel is available. There are global channel which is available. Lots and lots of information, which is very, very useful to the children. So much information which is available. So I don't say that they should keep spending their time, they should increase their screen time, nothing of that sort. But judicious use of everything which is advisable, and it applies. I think we as educators only have to present in such a way that they must understand how they can become resilient, how they can become patient, and how a kind of life skill that can be developed, right? So this is all something, because the children pick up these are the instincts. Children pick up certain things which they see their elders doing it. This is very important. Very rightly said, by Madam Nargis also, that children learn, by watching the things. So it's by observation. So the observation and the behavior and the actions, they matter more. So we as educators, how we are presenting ourselves, how we are conducting ourselves, giving them the right attitude, the right path of everything, how they can restrict their time to watch this screen, which may be good, which may be bad, right? But it should be used only as a tool and not as a toy, which can be played in any way. There was a time, immediately after COVID, when the children had learned, only about watching the screen, not reacting towards the teachers, right? Bringing them back from those typing fingers to writing fingers. It was a big challenge, for everyone. So we took that challenge. Yes. But now, since we find that everything is settled, right? And this task, which would have perhaps taken, a decade or so, to come on this kind of a platform. See, here we are conducting this online webinar, which we had perhaps just 2 years before, we would have never thought of that we would be meeting and conducting such important and informative and useful webinars, like this on such kind of platforms, right? So within just a very short span of time, we all adapted ourselves, to the learning platforms, and we all came together. So thanks to technology and thanks to our screens also, I would say, right, that we all have been able to come together, right? And a lot of learning had happened. And it's not just pan-India, I believe across the globe, and how we could connect with the people whom we would have perhaps never thought of even to see, and to even, to see their insights, or even to hear their insights upon all important issues. So everything is fine. Restriction of screen time, I don't believe in that. I just want to, there was a time during our days, there used to be a debate about science, a boon or a bane, right? Then the time came, technology, a boon or a bane, right? And now we talk about internet, a boon or a bane, or again, screen time, which has become a very, very challenging issue for all especially the young mothers. It's their choice whether they put their, cartoon before the children or not while eating. The thing is, it is for their own convenience they give them the phones, because they have to spend time with them, right? It's going to take time. We also fed our children. There was a time when we used to sit with them and feed them, because feeding children, it's take a lot of time, and you become what you eat. But these young children, they don't realize, the young mothers, they would be busy, in attending the webinar on good parenting, but a maid is taking care of the the child and feeding and having a phone in his or her hand. So this is the thing. The point is here, we don't have to blame the screen. We have to just take care of our own skills, our own values, and the system, how judicially we are able to put across our viewpoints and just show them, this is good, this is bad. Choice is yours. So this is how it is. Of course, as school, we keep conducting, the seminars, the webinars also. We invite the parents for counseling sessions. We tell them. But parents, they show their helplessness, as if they can't do anything. Everything the school has to do, because helpless in the sense they give them those big Android and very, very expensive phones that they can afford. But how to control that phone, they don't know. And that is the job of the teachers. So I believe that we all have to take care of all this, because it is a matter of the skills, because learning technology and understanding this also is a skill. Very recently, it has been said that now, the uneducated will not be the ones, who don't know those 3 R's, but the ones who don't know how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we are in the process of relearning and while unlearning certain things. So skills would remain, right? Emotional connect, it should be there, right? Restriction is not required, because the moment you restrict anything, they feel something which is prohibited, right? They tend to do, and they tend to do, experience it more. So everything is open, and this is good, this is bad. You can choose it. What I feel, I'll just sum up by saying, that a phrase is there. We say care. Here they have to do, see where it stands for all our 21st century skills. They are like critical thinking, communication, collaboration. They all have to understand that this C would remain with them, which is very, very important, whether it is screen or not screen, physical and interpersonal interaction with anyone. A would be there, which is attitude. Attitude matters. And that is going to change everything. How you look towards the things, how do you have your outlook towards anything, your perception, your attitude really matters. The more positive you are, you will be able to ignite yourself, you will be able to empower yourself, and you know that this is my screen time, and beyond that, I don't have to see, because it is going to affect my own health, my own mental peace, right? Physical, emotional, and even we call these days as digital well-being. So we have to take care of our digital well-being as well. So which is a very important part of it. So R here, I say it is reflection and how we can make everyone resilient. It was, especially during COVID time, we realized that, how resilient we can become and how we have to make our children resilient towards accepting the things, right? Something comes up, right? This was, nobody had experienced it earlier. So how did we react to it? It was our upbringing. It was our skills, what over the years we had adapted. Few just took it, as anxiety, as, something very, very negative, and few took it in a very positive way. So everything has got, two sides. The way we look at the things, it all depends on our reflection and our resilience. So we need to be resilient, and the same message I believe we have to give to our children also. And the most important is E, which is empathy. We all know, and over the years, again, I would say this is something which is very important. We have to prepare our children, not just for today, and not just for their academics, not just for their coming up years, but for life. Life skills are more important. End of it, they should become the good human beings. And good human beings, they can become, even if they watch screen, not a problem. But your own, again, your own values, which is really going to play an important role. So this care is very important. We must promote this care, and this care is not only for themselves, but for the others as well. That's my submission. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful inputs, ma'am. Thank you so much for those inputs. We can just conclude the discussion with the tagline that we have, like, the technology would be there, screen time would be there. The only solution to this is judicious and proper usage of that same. Everything will be there. We can't restrict truly. We have to teach them, guide them with the right kind of choices. It's my privilege to host so wonderful and beautiful panelists, Nargis, Qazi ma'am, and Dr. Anju, Mehrotra ma'am. Thank you so very much for being on the panel today. Calling back Achin for the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you so much, Gregory. Thank you.
Achin, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So I think great session, very seamless. But sir, thank you as always for giving us a great start, a very balanced overview. Nargis ma'am, I think you highlighted something very important, role of parents. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And it's very true that and even as a parent, I do acknowledge that at times it's completely for our own convenience that, to distract kids, we do give them access to screens. But I think as a part of responsible parenting, it's also time for all of us to self-introspect. So not only in terms of giving device access, but also, as you rightly mentioned, to be good role models and ensuring that we do facilitate more face-to-face interaction, maybe visiting a relative or a friend or a neighbor, so that they actually understand that socializing, the confines of socializing are not restricted to the screen alone. We can actually socialize in a much more active way, face-to-face, right? So I think, and also I think you highlighted something which is again very important, that at times children, because of excess use of screen time and socializing on screen, their imagination is restricted to the screen. They retract into a shell, into their own comfort zone. So this is something which is, I completely agree with you on that. So I think great insights, ma'am. Thank you so much for that, for giving us some really, really interesting take on this.
Thank you.
Dr. Mehrotra, thank you for your time. I think very aptly you summed it up by saying a double-edged sword. So couldn't agree more. So I think that really is the spirit of the evening. Double-edged sword. We all agree. So and we have seen the benefits, and we have been seeing the benefits, especially during COVID. We all agree that education didn't get interrupted, it went on, and of course, technology played a very big role on that. But I think you're completely right that it's really important to educate people about the pros and cons so that they can choose for themselves. Choose for themselves in a more informed way, in a more mature way, in a more resilient way. So I think really wonderful session. Some really great take on this, and I'm sure members of the esteemed audience also found this really value-adding. I thank all of you for being with us here today evening, and look forward to your continued support in the sessions to come. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Achin. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Looking forward for the next session.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Thank you, Gregory.
Thank you, ma'am.